One on that one.
Next discussion item is of recent charter amendments and responsibilities of county officials regarding conflict of interest.
Mr. Chairman, I'd ask that this be put on because of the charter amendment that was passed. I want to make sure that we fully understood our duties and responsibilities under this charter amendment so that we're not violating this charter. And so Mr. Lockett has already told us that, well, let me let Mr. Lockett explain. There were two aspects to this.
But on the amendment that passed, part of it took effect immediately. Part of it, as far as reducing size of commission, we know doesn't take effect until 2010. The parts that took effect immediately upon passage were the anti-nepotism policy and the conflict of interest policy, which we discussed earlier. The conflict of interest policy has a definition of personal interest, and it applies obviously to someone who has a vote. And if someone who has a vote, if their spouse or member of the immediate family is affected, that falls within the definition of personal interest. So in such an instance, not only there's no discretion under the charter amendment. Under our ethics policy in the past, when you had a conflict of interest, keep in mind there are various conflicts of interest, not just personal interest. Someone had discretion as whether they could announce a conflict of interest but still participate. But under the charter amendment, you do not have that discretion. Someone must not only recuse themselves, but as the example that took place earlier tonight, once they recuse themselves, if it's based on a personal interest, conflict of interest, cannot participate in debate.
Commissioner Anders?
Mr. Lockett, when we get down to the budget, if it doesn't, my wife is in the health department, can I not vote on the budget if it deals with a pay raise, or if it doesn't deal with her specifically?
Commissioner, to be safe, because really it's worded quite broadly, and I think that would fall within the definition of personal interest.
Well, I can't vote on the budget?
If it falls within the definition of personal interest, then under the charter amendment.
Thank you.
Mr. Lockett?
Mr. Lockett, could we not take the budget department by department, though? We don't have to vote on the budget as a whole, because Commissioner Luthold is going to be in the same situation with the trustee. Commissioner Pinkston is going to be in the same situation with the sheriff. I mean, can we not come in and take it department by department rather than doing the budget as a whole?
And we may all be in under it, Commissioner Hammond, if the mayor proposes a budget, a pay increase for all county employees.
Includes the trust, includes the...
We can't vote on our own budget if it's... Thank you, Charles.
Perhaps we solve many problems with this.
Well, no, I mean, seriously, Eric.
Looks to me like we're creating problems.
Well, I didn't draft it.
I understand, but what if the mayor proposes a budget increase for all county employees, say 1% or 2%, whatever? That affects everyone here. So that means we can't vote on the budget.
I will not accept a pay raise so I can vote on the budget.
Well, we did that last year.
And that doesn't necessarily mean that. I mean,
well, hold on. Let's go one at a time.
You still can't vote.
Let's go back to one at a time. Commissioner Lambert.
Well, now, I would think, even if there's not a pay increase, if a person's pay comes from the Knox County budget, that is the budget that will pay their salary, their spouse's salary, and as far as commissioners go, their commission salary comes from Knox County. I mean, it's
Funded.
I mean, I'm not challenging your opinion on this issue, but let's just say, for instance, we take Craig out of the mix, we take Mr. Pinkston out of the mix, we take Brad out of the mix. I don't know if anybody else here has any family members that work for Knox County, but An abstention counts as a no. You still have to have 10 positive votes. I could very easily see a situation where this county could be thrown into complete gridlock because we have a budget that so few people are allowed to vote on that it would take, a unanimous vote of those who were not conflicted to pass a budget. That presents a real problem.
I get my cats fixed at the Young Williams Animal Center. Does that disqualify me?
The cats may object. Okay.
A tax increase affects all of us here. We can't vote for a tax increase if we need one.
Amen to that.
All right, Commissioner Briggs.
We can think of a lot of reasons why we can't do anything. One solution may be if it is when we vote on the budget, we can vote on the budget as a whole, but pull out those departments where there's a conflict of interest. In other words, pull the health department out, and we vote on everything else. And then if there's a conflict there in the sheriff's office, we pull that out, and then everyone can vote on it except for those that have the family member there.
The only problem that I can foresee, Commissioner Briggs, is what if we have a very close vote where you're barely getting your 10 votes and you can't complete the budget? Let's say we needed Commissioner Anders to be able to vote in order to finish that part of it to make.
I agree. I agree that's a problem, but I'm trying to come up with the best solution.
And I understand. I'm foreseeing a possible flaw even within it, and I do appreciate. This also comes up. You start talking about a personal conflict of interest. We're talking about redistricting. You can't tell me that we all don't have a possible personal interest in the way these lines are drawn. So, Mr. Law Director, how do we get around that? I'm term limited, and I don't feel like I have but there's only 3 of us that are term limited.
Let's slow down, okay? The suggestion, let's go back to the budget. In terms of, we'll deal with your personal issues as commissioners in a moment, but let's deal with the one that has to do with spouses. Suggestion has been made that those where there is a potential conflict of interest in those areas, that they be discussed and passed or not passed with those departments, which would allow individual commissioners to recuse themselves if they do have a conflict of interest based on personal interest, okay? So that takes care of that part of the potential conflict of interest. In dealing with you individually, we don't know what the budget is. We don't know if there's any increases, decreases, whatever. There's a doctrine in the law that it is not to be interpreted if the result that would be accomplished is absurd, if it has an absurd result. And if the charter amendment, and I'll just tell you, it is drafted so broadly that there is no question that it could, if it were literally imposed and interpreted, cause you a problem. But if that result is absurd, meaning that it would not allow you to pass a budget, then the legal doctrine that I mentioned would, I think, operate, and it would allow you to do what it is that you're charged by law to do, and that's adopt and approve a budget.
Mr. Briggs?
I'll just make one more comment, and I'm starting to talk this lawyer talk now, but when you talk about the intent of the people that drew it up, and I don't think it was the intent of the charter amendment when that was passed, either by the commission or by the voters or by the petition. I guess it was all done by petition to cause gridlock in county government. And And I guess that goes along with what you're saying on the absurdity question, too. But
All right, next item.
The next item is discussion